Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. The price is down, but the energy is up for the market. I think you're going to love what we got for you today. $2.77 trillion market cap. The market is off 5.3% in the last 24 hours. Yes, I did buy the dip, not financial advice. 82,200 plus for Bitcoin, 1,800 plus for Ethereum, XRP, $2.09. What did I tell you yesterday? We get down them teens, I'm buying. Well, I fell asleep while it was in the teens and I woke up in the 209 section. Well, you know what? I know what to do. Yeah, I didn't even put my shoes on. I said, buy button. That's what I did. We're off 5.8 on the 24. We're off 12.5 on the 7-day. Yeah, I hit the blue light special. Let's see what we're ranging on price here. Range between 207 and 224. I damn near caught the floor on that one. It always feels good when you get close to that bottom because you can never know exactly when it is. But it's been a minute, so I'm glad that I did it. It felt fantastic, I can tell you that. Look, let's get into this news. We got a lot to go over today. I want to start right here. This is Greg Kidd acknowledging, was the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit an initiation into the big boy club? Well, he talks about how it's this way everywhere in the world. You have to pay to play, baby.
Call it corruption. See, I lived in places like Indonesia. We don't call it corruption. We just call it wetness. How wet is this deal? Which means like how much do you have to pay off the top? Keep it. But it's what we call politely in the US, we call regulatory capture. And so like folks that have gone through, it's like hazing. Once you've been through hazing to get into the fraternity, then now you're going to haze the next generation. Well, you have to go through the same hell I went through. So look, I'm in the tent now. And I could basically, celebrate that, but it's not my nature. I want like lots of people in the tent.
There you have it right there. So we're not wrong. Greg sees it the same exact way we do. It's a pay-to-play system, and that's just the way the world works. And I'm hoping that the world works another way is for another day. That's a conversation for another day. But nonetheless, let's hear who is about to be our new SEC chair, Paul Atkins, as he lays down exactly the direction he's going to go.
Since 2017, I've led industry efforts to develop best practices for the digital asset industry. I've seen how ambiguous and non-existent regulation of digital assets create uncertainty in the market and inhibit innovation. A top priority of my chairmanship will be to work with my fellow commissioners in Congress to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets through a rational, coherent, and principled approach. So this is a pivotal moment for our economy. Entrepreneurs, businesses, and individuals here at home and across the globe are eager to invest in America now that President Trump is at the helm. Yet the current regulatory environment for our financial system inhibits investment and often punishes success. Unclear, overly politicized, complicated, and burdensome regulations are stifling capital formation, while American investors are flooded with disclosures that do the opposite of helping them understand the true risks of an investment. It is time to reset priorities and return common sense to the SEC. I'm eager to get to work for American markets and investors. Should I be confirmed, my goal will be to ensure that the United States is the best and most secure place in the world to do business.
No doubt about it. And shout out to Paul Atkins. I mean, look, it's quite a statement to say that, to make sure you bring back some sensibility, I'm paraphrasing, to the SEC. This guy was a previous SEC chair. So for him to say it, it has even more weight to recognize exactly what Gary Gensler was doing in his tenure. Now, here's Charles Hoskinson talking about what happens to Tether.
The big question there is what to do about Tether. Is there a path where Tether can onshore, get audited, and then kind of become more like Circle?
Isn't that the question we've been asking? But so many people, how dare you? How dare you talk about Tether? This is the question going on at Capitol Hill. Don't worry about what the children are saying. Focus on what the adults are doing. Now let's listen to Charles as he talks about the FIT 21 bill.
Congressman Hill, we talked to him yesterday, seems confident that he can maintain the bipartisan apparatus they put together for FIT 21, although major changes are going to have to be made there. And on the Senate side, we have to get to 60. So there has to be at least 8 senators on the left that really want to come along for the ride. And I do believe that there's going to be some people that could potentially come along for the ride, whether it be Warner or Wyden, Fetterman, others. It's just there has to be some horse trading and discussion about how these things are going to come together. Congressman Hill, we talked to him yesterday, seems confident that he can maintain the bipartisan apparatus they put together for FIT 21, although major changes are going to have to be made there. And on the Senate side, we have to get to 60. So there has to be at least 8 senators on the left that really want to come along for the ride. And
I just wanted to hear that again about the 8 senators on the left that got to come along for the ride. That's who they need to flip to get it done. And listen, I think the left has understood, because we had a massive bipartisan vote to reverse the DeFi broker rule, which is signaling to me that the people on the right and left understand that if you want to be elected or reelected back to a position, you're going to want to figure out how you can be a part of the positive side of ushering in the new digital on-chain economy and legislation therefore, right? So I think we're going to get the 8, maybe even more. But let's understand where we are around the world. India's banking giants are secretly testing XRP's private ledger lightning fast, ultra efficient money transfer between banks. And here's the icing on the cake. India is a proud member of BRICS Alliance. Imagine XRP bridging the financial gap between India, Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa. The future of global finance is being written, and XRP is leading the charge. Get ready for a seismic shift in the world of finance. DBS and others have been working for years with Ripple and XRP's technology. And this is super exciting to me because we have had conversations yesterday, as recent as yesterday. What about BRICS and the new payment system? We need to find out who is helping to serve that infrastructure for BRICS' new payment system. We know that there are individual connections between those countries and Ripple. So are they playing a role to help service that new financial system for BRICS coalition? And if so, we already know that there's deep connections here in the United States as well. And wouldn't this make sense? Didn't we hear Jasmine Cooper from RippleX tell us just a couple days ago that they were getting ready to bring the enterprise backend to the layer 1 DEX for liquidity? I know you understand what I'm saying. Now let's listen to this gentleman. Now I know he has a strong accent, but I bet you could tell what he's saying.
We are working with Ripple XRP on their CBDC platform, and we are consulting small countries, not like India. So they are very advanced. We are already into the CBDC platform. We are consulting small countries as one of the advisory paper submission and everything on the CBDC, how they can move to CBDC.
Mr. Solomon Ashok, founder Cars Fintech and co-founder and CTO of Accelerate Finance, to please.
One more time with this. It's very quick in the beginning.
We are working with Ripple XRP on their CBDC platform.
So there you have it. And again, Jasmine Cooper talking about that 70 billion in payment flows on the back end with enterprise customers about to be brought to the public DEX to serve as liquidity. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited. Go tell it, Jasmine. You know what? Do I need to find that clip before we get going? Do you guys want me to find it? Yeah, let's hear it before we move on. Jasmine Cooper, head of product at RippleX.
And the permission domains tool to do that.
Now listen.
And we're applying that to a couple different protocols. The permission DEX is one. So this will allow regulated entities like Ripple to bring a portion of their payments volume onto the decentralized exchange.
You got that right? You got that right? You better believe we got it. Let me tell you something. And now let's come to this. Knowing that these enterprise clients are going to be bringing that liquidity to the public decentralized exchange on the XRP ledger, John Squire said Ripple might be lining up with FedNow. Blockchain rails are being laid. XRP could play a key role in powering real-time payments across the U.S. economy. I say strike might. Might is not something that needs to be in this sentence at all. They are doing this for FedNow. That's what's happening, right? But it isn't just there. Remember when Brad Garlinghouse was asked about SBI in Japan and opening up that market, he quickly turned to the SWIFT payment system. Isn't that interesting?
Markets like Japan, I think, are still unlocking. The market opportunity here is massive. You have
So he expands beyond Japan with the opportunity when asked about Japan and talks about the whole world.
trillions of dollars flowing cross-border globally. It's still largely dominated by the SWIFT network, if you will. And that's architecture, that's a technology architecture that's developed 50 years ago. There's an opportunity to modernize. That takes time, particularly when you have a government in the U.S. kind of combating that innovation. But that's changing now. The Trump effect, if you will, is profound.
Yes, it is. And let's keep moving because you know what? The mission has always been to replace SWIFT.
Rather than being an internet system. So we need that internet of value to be developed. And that's what we spend our time working on is a replacement for SWIFT and correspondent banking. How do you get all of the payment providers, all of the wallets onto ILP? And then how do you use XRP as on-demand liquidity so that all of these providers don't have to keep balances all over the world because the process is so inefficient. And we think that's the winning kind of killer app. And then I think last group talked about a Cambrian explosion. Yeah. Then you get that Cambrian explosion.
No doubt about it. So you have to wonder where we are. But again, the messaging is still the same. But today, when asked about things like connecting in other countries like Japan, Brad uses that position, that question, that point to pivot to the global friction and problem of the world when it comes to payments. Wonderful. But listen to this from years ago.
I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is, in fact, taking over SWIFT. In that, we've now signed up, well over 100 banks. Some of the largest SWIFT-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology. Just last week, we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that SWIFT isn't able to support that we're able to address right now. And one of the former board members of SWIFT, a gentleman, Marcus Treacher, joined our team to run all of customer success. And, this was, a former board member from SWIFT coming over and saying, hey, we don't think SWIFT's going to be necessarily a solution to really unlocking this internet of value. These are, marks along the journey.
Absolutely. Now let's keep this moving here. This is to show you that there's a deep connection between SWIFT. There's Pegah Soltani from Ripple, Ryan Rugg from Citi, and then Kalina Bhatia from SWIFT. And they talk about how they're working together.
Kalyani, SWIFT has played such an important role in helping cross-border organizations and banks interoperate smoothly. What does the next generation of SWIFT look like? And will you work together with other types of solutions that we heard like with Citi and Ripple to really tackle these issues?
So great question. So first, let me describe the global response we're seeing on the interoperability topic, and it's really in three separate phases. So phase one was all about domestic schemes. So, you've got, that was the first group that really said, all right, let's try and see how we can reduce friction, how can we get to interoperability, and that's where you have examples like FedNow. You have some great use cases in India with UPI and with PIX in Brazil. Then the next phase was really about countries coming together, so inter-regional, and really discussing how do we hook up our domestic schemes together in a cross-border aspect. And there you have things like Luna in the Middle East, and you've got BRICS. And then the third phase, which definitely is very much in its infancy, it's intra-regional, And this is about different regions coming together and talking about how do we connect up together to get to interoperability. And there you've got IXB and Nexus as some examples. And you're constantly seeing different groups in APAC and the Middle East pop up in the news. So at Swift, we're super interested about the cross-border aspects of phase 2 and phase 3. We want to make sure that the industry isn't creating too many digital islands, and we want to be the network of network. And of course, we're very agnostic as to the form of money and what that's going to take and the actual systems or mode of moving it around. And we really want to focus on interoperability between existing and emerging networks or across asset classes. So we really try to keep, up to date what's happening in the market to make sure that, whether we are participating and supporting different initiatives where possible, we do our own experimentations. You're absolutely right? So we talked with Pega and with Ryan on tokenized assets and CBDCs, and doing a lot of experimentation in both kind of areas as the market, has identified those as key next steps of what the next way into interoperability. And so,
and why would it be Swift sitting down with Citi and Ripple? Well, let's go back to the video, because the reality is Brad's going to explain to you why it's Swift and Citi that are so important, and why Ripple is so important in the middle of it all.
I mean, Swift is kind of a competitor. It's slightly more complicated than that, because Swift is really just messaging. When you send a Swift transfer, it's not liquidity. You're actually sending bank messages to banks that have liquidity. So to some degree, Citibank and HSBC, really the top two, JPM, those are the top three liquidity banks. And when you're sending Swift messages, you're sending messages to banks to release liquidity and making sure the debits and credits match. So to some degree, really boil it down, Ripple's competing with the liquidity of Citi and the messaging of Swift, but in one, because we're both messaging and liquidity.
Now you know why they're all three together, because they're bringing the liquidity and the messaging together by bringing Ripple together to meld them together. That's what we're watching happen. This, essentially, because we just got an executive order from President Trump to modernize the payments to and from America's bank accounts. Hello, FedNow. Hello, Ripple. Hello, Swift for messaging and payments cross-border from the U.S. domestic financial system that's FedNow. Yeah, this is what it looks like. The old system, while the new one's being put in place right beside it. That's what we're talking about here. This is the reason for digital assets, to make sure we get the US dollar underpinned so it can last for the next 150, 250 years, so your children's children can have the same opportunities and more than we did. That's what we're talking about. And then we got this. Banks can touch crypto without permission. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Listen, this is an official green light. The FDIC is announcing to the banking world, this is what they said. You don't need another thing from us. Start tomorrow if you're ready. That's the answer. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. An XRP VRA here, XRP DigiGold, had this to share. When things hit 213, this is their thought process. Got it? Got it? Buy at 213, we're at 209. He's calling that bottom. And then he says here, 3 days of that. And then 1 week he says sell at 760. That might be euros, obviously. And then let it go back down. 2 weeks later at 340. Buy. Oh, and then a month, 29 plus. Come on in. And then 2026 over $700 is what he believes. Listen, or they believe. I don't know. listen, I don't know what's going on, but what I do know is all that fundamental news, I'm here for it to watch it unfold and turn from plan and objective into goal into realized accomplishment and real-time use. That's what I'm here for. And I love the path that we're currently on together. No question about it. Now we're going into the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you will join us. All you have to do is just click that join button right here underneath the title, or drop down the more button in the description section. You could join us on Patreon, whichever place you prefer. All I know is this is definitely worth the price of admission. For less than the cost of a cup of coffee, you get all the daily videos with 0 Google ads and extra content, which we're about to get into right now. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one, so come on in. All right, welcome back.